Hey y'all, happy Thursday. I'm on here early because I went and dropped my cat off to get spayed today, and I'm having a fucking conniption. So I was like, you know what? While I'm waiting for them to call me to tell me to come and get her, I can just use this time to go live, because I'm again have been trying to go live at least once a day during the week while I have the energy. But I've realized that this Cancer Mercury retrograde is not affecting me like it affects other people, because I've done a lot of work around like my family and my trauma and stuff like that. So if you're feeling kind of out of sorts right now, or old stuff is coming up right now, it's because of the retrograde in Cancer. And Cancer is about the family, the life, the home, belonging. And so a lot of childhood trauma and stuff like that is coming up right now. Anything that you have not fully processed. And I also feel like Mercury retrograde always gets like a bad rap, but it really is a reflective time. It's a time for you to get your bearings. It's a time for you to, you know, process the things you hadn't got a chance to slow down and process. So if you're struggling during this Mercury retrograde, which I think is until the 21st or 22nd of this month, be easy on yourself. Like what I keep realizing, or what I keep getting from people who are like kind of going through it, is like they're not giving themselves grace, and they're not giving themselves an opportunity to rest. And you got to understand that it's important that you rest during this time. You know, like I think Mercury retrograde is about like communication and like reflecting and reviewing and like things like that. So it really is an opportunity for you to kind of shed what's been holding you back, so that you can move forward when it comes to communicating, when it comes to belonging, when it comes to feeling safe. And it's in Cancer, so it also has a lot to do with your intuition. So those situations where you knew what you should have did, but you chose not to, and you went against your intuition, like stuff like that is going to be coming up. Give yourself patience, give yourself a little bit of kindness while you navigate that, because it can be really heavy, because we're talking about themes like family and like the mother, you know, any mother wounds, mother figures, like things like that are going to be coming up right now. So it's just best if you be your own best friend during this time. But I genuinely feel like I feel good about it, because I feel like I've done so much work on myself in these last couple of years that the things that used to energetically pull me in one direction or the other is not pulling me in the same way that it did before, which is a testament to healing, you know. And I want to be careful when I say healing, though, because I think when I say healing, people think that there's something, like it's something about you that needs to be fixed. It's not. Like life really is about refinement. You're just trying to become the version of yourself that you want to be. And so it requires you to kind of shed that old, so that you can step into the new. And so right now we are in the Venus hour, because I looked up the planetary hours before I hopped on, because I always like to figure out like when I need to do what work I need to do for that day. And I have this new oil that I've been using by Stassi. I don't know if y'all know who, if you are on Witch Talk, you probably know who Stassi is. But it's a selkie spell oil, and it's like spelled to aid in shape-shifting, transformation, incredible beauty and attraction. It's shedding old skin to bring the new you in. This is a great aid, y'all, to help you while you're trying to go through those transitions. And it smells delicious. Like I put it in my hair, I put it on my neck, like, oh, it smells so good. So we're in a Venus hour right now, and I feel like it's definitely like she has a very Venus vibe to her, even though she is a Cancer. So that oil, I've been using it like when I go to the gym, I rub it on my stomach and on my abs to kind of like help my abs to transform. I put it on as perfume to help me to be more attractive, and to help me to continue to shed, because I think I'm always in like this perpetual state of fucking shedding, because I always am like reflecting on like where I am in life and stuff. Wait, the volume isn't working on YouTube? Oh no, y'all can't hear me on YouTube? Ain't that some shit? Always shedding and becoming more. Yeah, because I have a my moon is in Scorpio, and so Scorpio, my internal world is always going through a transformation. Like I'm always shedding, I'm always reflecting, I'm always transforming. And so I like to use like little oils and stuff like that kind of help me with the process, so that I don't feel alone while I'm doing it. But I also just kind of like dedicate myself to move, like moving when it's time to move. I have an app called Astrology Master, and Astrology Master is the app that I use for the planetary hours. And that app has your natal chart, the transits, the progressive chart, synastry, like it has a whole bunch of shit, and the app is free. You know, they do have a paid one, I think, but the app for the most part is free. I think with the paid app you get like a master AI or whatever, but I don't need that. And so anytime that I'm doing work, I always check what planetary hours we're in, just because, you know, I want to make sure that I'm aligned with the energy, moving with the energy. Okay, yeah, then just get the regular app, because it don't, like, you don't have to get the AI part, or you don't have to use the AI part. It's called Astrology Master. It has like a big A on it. I live and die by that fucking app. I literally feel like you can find anything on that app when it comes to astrology. And once you put your information in, it kind of saves it underneath your name, and so you can just go in and like click. But yeah, but today is Jupiter day. So today, Jupiter is the energy of expansion, of abundance, of like philosophy and like learning and growing and like all of those things. So I'm a person who actually organizes my life around like the days, the hours, the whatever. And I'm telling you, my life has been flowing so much better after I like made the adjustments I needed to make, you know. So like I only work Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday, which I fucking love. I only work Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. Tuesday because you can get a lot of like the mundane shit done, like a lot of like the busy work is like on Tuesday. Wednesday is great for communication, and so I do my soul school on Wednesday nights. And then Friday, which is Venus day, because I'm very heavily ruled by Venus, if y'all cannot tell. And so Friday is, we do like our spell work and stuff on Friday with that. And then I also meet with my priestesses or whatever, who I'm kind of like mentoring through like their gifts and stuff like that. Hey, Callie, I'm good. How are you? Wait, Stony K is Callie, right? But yes, I only work those 3 days, and then Thursdays I kind of get to myself, and so I do a lot of reading on Thursday because I love reading books. Like I had a friend come into my life, and what's crazy about this friend is like we knew each other in college, but it was kind of like some, oh, hey girl, how are you? Like we were just polite to each other in college. But I will say in college, I was a motherfucking menace. So I think a lot of people was a little intimidated by me because I was a little crazy. I'll try to tap in if you're live later. I'm going to eat and start my day. Oh, okay. Well, have a good day, my love. Wait, so YouTube can't hear me? Okay, hold on. Let me try to figure out what's going on with YouTube. I'm going to hop out and hop back in with YouTube and see what's going on. But anyways, me and this girl met in college. Okay, hold on. Let me reconnect real quick. Let's see if this works. Can y'all hear me now on YouTube? Give me something. Can y'all hear me? Wait, why? I don't even see like the little microphone thing working on YouTube. Hold on, y'all. That's so strange. Let me restart the stream. Wait, I haven't even said anything. How is my live getting restricted? That's the shit that I be talking about. Under community guidelines. See, anyways. But But anyways, y'all, so I met this girl in college or whatever, and I was a hot fucking mess in college. So I understand like why, you know, people were a little bit intimidated by me. Hold on, let me get YouTube together and spiritual talk. I understood why people were a little intimidated by me, because when I went to college, like I was kind of like at my wit's end, and I was just tired of like being bullied by people or just all of the shit. Like, and I felt like I had to grow up like super, super quick, and I just kind of like became really, really guarded. And I genuinely feel like I had got dealt a shit hand, you know, because like I'm going to college and I'm finding out like that people actually have parents who can support them. People have like parents who give them gas cards or put them on a fucking, wait, yeah, it's a, okay, let's try YouTube again. Hello. What is going on with YouTube? Like, have I been, hold on. That's so weird. I mean, I don't know what to do about it. Customizations. The webcam is public. Yeah, I don't know. Like, but it's not lighting up like it normally does. I don't know. Maybe it's not meant to be on YouTube today. Wait, what did you say? Yes, Callie, I'm doing all right. The full moon death opened up some wounds for real. Family triggering the fuck out of me. Yeah, like I feel like, you know, like it's a lot of energy around the mother and the father right now, especially with the full moon in Capricorn, and then the whole situation. Yeah, I don't know what the fuck is going on with YouTube. I don't know how to fix this either though. If y'all can't hear me on YouTube, I'm just gonna have to get off YouTube, and y'all just gonna have to, you know, join me on TikTok. And then I'll just have to upload this video later. But anyways, so in college, like I met this girl, and like we just kind of like met each other in passing, and like the school that I went to is like 40,000 students, and like the 10% is black. And so like all the black people know each other because that's just how it works at like a PWI. And so like I seen her in passing, and like we kind of looked like she could be my cousin. And so we just like spoke to each other. I can't even remember how we were introduced to each other, but I feel like she knew somebody that I was like super, super close with through like this program called Groups, which was like for first generation college students. And so like we knew of each other or whatever, but we never really talked. She disappeared in like the middle of school, and then she came back like towards like the last year of my school. And so I didn't know that she had went to the military. But then she came back, and I was like, oh, I haven't seen you in a while. You know, like we kind of like chopped it up, and we just kind of like kept up with each other on social media, I guess. But we never were like friends in that sense, you know, but I've always like viewed her in a high regard, because I think that I'm the type of person that I always see the beauty in people. I don't know what it is. It's just like when I meet somebody, if I like somebody, you will never hear me saying anything bad about the person, because I don't even think like that. I think my problem is I put everybody on a fucking pedestal. Like I have rose colored glasses on because I don't like people very often, because I'm not impressed by people very often. And so if I fucking like you, no sound. Okay. Okay, let me just tell them. Let me tell them to join me on TikTok, because I don't know what to do about the sound on YouTube. Ain't that some shit? But anyways, so anyways, me and her was not like friends, but you know, like it was like we knew each other in passing, whatever. And so when I moved to LA, I was out here for a couple of years, and like I noticed that she hangs out with some of the guys that I hang out with here. And so when she moved back to LA, she like hit me up and was like, hey, you know, I really like your content. We should hang out, da, da, da. And I was like, oh, okay. But before that, like I had made a post about like wanting to start reading again, because when I was in high school, I used to read all the time, but I was reading like Candy Liquor, the coldest winter ever, like Every Thug Needs a Lady. Like I was deep up in the urban romance, you know. I ain't had no motherfucking business, but that's what I was doing, you know. And I used to love reading them. Like I used to pump out a motherfucking book quick, you know. And so I was like, oh, like I need to kind of explore myself as a reader, because I'm the type of person who is like by nature a writer. Like I am a storyteller, you know. So I was like, let me just end YouTube, because that's not about to stress me out. But I'm a storyteller by nature. So I was like, okay, like if I'm going to explore myself as a writer, I need to kind of like do research, like market research. I'm the type of person that I do not jump into anything until I see what's out there, you know. And so I was telling like TikTok, like I want to find books that I could read, and she recommended this series, which was the Elysian series. I don't know if you know, like Iron, what's it called? Iron Flame, The Fourth Wing, and Onyx Storm. It's like a trio book, whatever. I think Michael B. Jordan is actually making it a live action right now. But she had recommended that, and that was a great fucking series to start me back into reading. And so that happened, I would probably say like maybe 9 months, maybe a year ago. Would it be a year ago? I would probably say like 9 months max ago. And the moment I started reading, I read like 9 books that month. And then I was like, oh, wait a second. Because I have a tendency to overdo it, because I fixate on stuff. And so when I fixate on something, like I'm 100%, 1,000% in. And so she's the one who got me to start reading again. And now all I do is read. Like I'm always like finding new books. And I'm really, really into like Black authors right now, because I feel like it's a difference between the white voice and the Black voice. And so at first I like was into fantasy, because I like fantasy romance, like fairies, dragons, witches, give me all that shit actually, you know. And so it's like I read so many of those stories, and then I was like, wait, but I feel like I'm missing like the Black voice, because that's what I really loved about like those books like Candy Liquor, you know, Every Thug Needs a Lady. Like I like that it was written for Black people. It's like, this sounds like my cousin wrote it. You know, like I wanted that element to it. And so I started I started reading the Legendborn series, and I started reading like books like Jambalaya and like The Spirit of the Water, like, you know, like stuff like that was about ancestor veneration and stuff like that, because I just wanted like Black voices. And yeah, it's helped me a lot. I'm actually in the process of writing a mythic realism book, because I want to write a book that tells the truth, and like it's a world where we're actually living in the truth of things. But of course we got to call it fiction, because you know how them people is. They like to control everything, and they think that their truth is the only truth that exists. And so we got to call it fiction so we can preserve the knowledge. But I really want to do that. But I'm playing around with a new idea, because at first I wanted it to be like a mystery school type of situation. Like she ends up like having like a marker or something that pulls her into this whole world that she didn't know that was existing, kind of like underground, which was like this mystery school. But now I'm starting to feel like maybe she needs to go to a HBCU, because that's probably one of my biggest fucking regrets, is that I went to a PWI and not a HBCU. But I did try to go to a HBCU, but my dad told me no, because the one I was trying to go to was in Norfolk, Virginia. I think it's called Hampton. Is it called Hampton? I think it's called Hampton. But I tried to go there. My dad used to be in the Navy, and he was like, no, because I'm going to get pregnant. And I was like, wow, you have no fucking faith in me. I don't even like men. Like, I mean, I'm not gay, but I don't like men as people. So it's just like the likelihood of me finding a man that actually could meet me is crazy. So anyways, I took my baby, Aura, to get spayed this morning, and I was freaking out because I really thought that I was respecting her rights as a woman. But when I took her to the vet a couple weeks ago, they told me that cats are not like that. And I'm just like, well, why would God make her like this if she's not supposed to be like this? You know? What book am I reading now? I'm reading Jambalaya. I'm on the book 2 of the Legendborn series, because I'm in the middle of like 7 different books. Don't judge me, y'all. It's ADHD or something. Just don't judge me. Sometimes I'm bored by this book, and so I jump to another one, and then I'll be like head over heels in that book. So I'm in the middle. I'm on book 2 of Legendborn, the Legendborn series. I'm in the middle of Jambalaya. I'm in the middle of, or on the last book of Zodiac Academy. I just finished Earth, which was this book. Because I'll be stopping because like I'm also reading like a bunch of like conjure books and like ancestor veneration books and stuff like that as well. I started reading Black Fantasy too. It's so good. I'll try them. Yeah, so I have like the Blood and Ash. Like I have a bunch of books like saved because a bunch of black books like Black Vampires and Black whatever, just because I'm going to write from the black lens because I'm black. I don't know how to write from everybody else's lens, you know? But I'm trying to figure out how I do that because I also feel like books like Every Thug Needs a Lady, you know, Coldest Winter Ever, like that's a little too far for me. Like I kind of want a center in between the fantasy books and then the urban fiction books, you know, like I need something kind of in the middle. So yeah, but I was thinking about that too, because like when I'm reading like a white book and it's like, cause the book is going to be a little spicy because why the fuck would it not be spicy? You know? So you know how like for us words, when I'm reading a book that's written by a white author, like they use the word cunt a lot, like C-U-N-T, and they think that that's like sexy. And I'm just like, for me, that's like, no, we just call that a this. So it be throwing me off a little bit. So it's just like, I need to find a writing style that I really, really like that is black people. And so I really like Legendborn. I think I'm actually about to start the series with Kennedy Ryan. It's like Can't Be Enough, or do y'all know what I'm talking about? It's like a 3-book series, and then she got Real as well as the other one. I think it's like Can't Be Enough or something like that. Can't Let Go. I don't know. But I'm thinking about starting that series because I've been getting a lot of good things about her. Hey, Terry. And so we're going to see. But yeah, I'm writing a mythic realism book, and I'm just trying to figure out like how I want to do it, because what's crazy is that the day that I decided that I was going to write, what I did is I went on Udemy, because I always like a course, or I need like some type of market research, because that's just how my mind works. Like I need to see what's out there. I need to see, you know, structure and stuff like that. And so I took a class on Udemy, and then like in the first 30 minutes of me taking the class, it's like I already knew what I was writing. And so I got this Google Doc, and I started like sky full of elephants. Oh, okay. Yeah, what's that about? I got this Google Doc together, and I literally just organized everything. And so I already have 5 characters, which like what I was doing was, if I was like in a bad mood, or if I was just in a energy, I would just make a character out of it. And so I already have like the main 3 characters, and then I have like the family of like the elites. Like I have all of them. And then I have like the flame lineages written out. I have all of like it's like I already have written a book. I just have to finish developing the world. But I also feel like there's another story emerging underneath that. And so I don't know if I'm writing 2 books, because the original book, like I wanted it to be like a 9-book series, kind of like Zodiac Academy, but like a 9-book series, you know, that. But yeah, now I'm getting all these ideas about like a possible another book. And so I'm just like, oh, like, are you really about to be a writer? Like, are you about to write shit? And I think I am, you know, because I feel like storytelling is something that comes really easy to me. It's just in who I am as a person. So yeah, but I have a whole bunch of books. I also have a book called Grape Juice that's downstairs I need to finish, because there is a black bookstore here called the Reparations Club. And I went in there one day with my friend, and the owner was like standing right there. And so like we was kind of like chatting it up, and she said something, and she was like, or I said something, and she looked at me and she was like, "Are you a Taurus?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she was like, "Oh, okay, so am I," because I feel like that's only some shit we would say. And I was just like, "Oh, okay." And so, you know, I always support my Taurus baddies, because I feel like we're a group all in ourselves, you know. And I've never met a Taurus that I didn't get along with, except for men. I still get along with them, but the Taurus men are just, I run the smear campaign against them. they will fall under my reign because them motherfuckers are good for living a double life, and I don't like that. So yeah, anywho. Oh, you a Taurus, Ronnie. Okay, period. When's your birthday? Out of curiosity. And then I'm going to get into some of these channel messages and stuff that I'm working through too, y'all. Because I feel like I keep saying that. And in this whole week, I've not gotten a chance to do anything in the book. I'm the same way with Scorpio men as a Scorpio sun. Yeah, see, I'm a Scorpio moon. Oh, May 18th. Okay, so your birthday is 2 days after mine. Mine's May 16th. Hey, Lisa girl. I'm the same way with Scorpios too, because I got a Scorpio moon. And usually, like, if you have whatever your moon sign is, you're attracted to that in somebody's sun sign sometimes. And so it's a little shaky. Same with me as an Aries sun and Aries men. Yeah. I feel like the men is a whole nother breed compared to the women. Like, I love Aries women. I also love Aries men though, but that's probably because my papa. Like, I feel like one thing about Aries men is like they do operate with integrity most of the time. The ones that I know, you know, because it's more like they way or the highway. They always got to be right, that shit. That's where I feel like the integrity gets a little shaky because they care more about being right than they care about the truth. But I will say, like, they will tell you the truth, like on some like real shit. Like, I'm not ready for this, or you know, like they will tell you what the fuck is going on when it comes to that, which I appreciate. All right, so let's talk about the channel messages. And again, like, some of this stuff is shaky because I be telling y'all, like, sometimes when I'm channeling something, when they telling me something that just catches me off guard, it's like my mind starts working and starts like trying to piece things together, and I end up losing the message, right? And so sometimes when I'm like reading off like what my theories and stuff are, it's not until later on in the book that everything is cleared up. So I just want to make that disclaimer. And I kind of just want to talk about some channel messages today, just because I'm just trying to keep myself distracted while my cat is in surgery, because I don't know. I just don't like it. I don't like it. I wouldn't go under surgery, and so I feel really bad putting her under surgery, but they said it has to happen or she's going to get infections and stuff like that. And usually I would blow that off, but she gets really sick when she's in heat. So I just want my baby back. And so I need to distract myself until I can get my baby back. So anyways, okay, so you remember we was talking about the zodiac signs and how Spirit was telling me there's only 9 zodiac signs, and I couldn't get the full message on that. So I'm gonna just give you what I was getting, but I don't know if some of this stuff I still believe, because some things that when I'm channeling stuff, you also can be channeling distortion, because we have like the regular grids, and then we have grids that overlay those grids. And sometimes the grids that are overlaying those grids, depending on where you're pulling information from, they could be like distortion grids, or they can be like mimic grids, you know. So I just take in the information, and I use discernment to decide what I believe like later on. So where we left off, we kind of talked about like 25 being the threshold. 25 to 30 is what are you going to do now that you know, like, so you spend a lot of time questioning yourself. 33 is when you start moving into integration and stuff like that. The next message I got is when it comes to your gifts, it's about you feeling what is true. And so a lot of people are trying to get it right? Because I think that if you have like a fear of getting it wrong, you're going to struggle when it comes to your gifts. Sending love and healing to you and your cat. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. But yeah, when it comes to like your gifts, people will have a fear of getting it wrong, so they won't say what they're picking up on, right? And that's what I've learned is like somebody who coaches people through like developing their gifts and stuff like that. And so Spirit was saying when it comes to your gifts, it's about feeling what is true. And so you're feeling what feels true to you in the energy, and the truth speaks through stillness and openness, which means you got to be listening. And so when we talk about gifts, I tell people all the time, like, what you're actually trying to practice is listening, because listening actually puts you in a receptive state, and it puts you in an open state. And so receptiveness is needed for truth to arise, okay? Because the truth can only emerge in the pause, right? And so if you have a busy mind and you think, and you're trying to think your way through life, strategize your way through life, plan your way through life to keep yourself safe, a lot of times your mind is going on overdrive. Like, it's constantly going. And if it's constantly going, the truth cannot arise, because your mind is only responsible for like possibilities and assumptions, right? And so you have to be able to pause your mind so that space can come in between the thoughts, and in that space is where truth can come up, right? And so when you're living in self-doubt, you fight the truth even when you can feel the purity of it. You attack it like a victim on a stand, trying to find faults with your mind, preparing for the worst because you expect the worst. Receptivity is listening. Shut the hell up sometimes and see through the body. First of all, I just want to say that this was my eternal self speaking to me. And so like your shadow side. So she said, shut the fuck up. Because they tell me all the time I talk too much. Like, you need to spend more time listening than you do speaking. And so, excuse me, bitch. But she said, shut the hell up sometimes and see through the body. And so what she was trying to tell me is that listening does not come from our ears. You know, like, we have been told that we listen through our ears, and that's why we think the only place we listen is through our ears. But you can listen with your whole body, just like you can see with your whole body. We've been told we only can see through our eyes. That's not true. You can see through your whole body if you learn how to master stillness, which is our homeostasis. But a lot of us have not been able to achieve stillness because we have the moon and Pluto pulling on our magnetic field. And so we're kind of like, it's kind of like us being in the ocean and we're on a boat that's rocking, right? And so they said, feel into it because you know the truth when you feel it, which is true. We all know the truth when we feel it, right? We just convince ourselves that we tripping because a lot of us have been gaslit by our parents, by religion, by society, you know? And so they were saying, like, feel into it because you will know the truth when you feel it. And I like to tell people to get inside of the feeling because you can't describe the feeling from outside of the thing. You know, like, you have to actually be living it, which means you kind of need to embody it a little bit. And then while you're in there, just dig around. Like, if you can't put your finger on what you're feeling, start trying to describe it as best as you possibly can so that you can eventually get to the feeling. And then as you practice and as you keep going, it gets a lot easier. And so you just think being perfect keeps you safe, so you won't even look at it. What else did they say? And so then they went into me, because like some of these messages are specific to me, and they were saying that I have an integrity issue, and I'm just like, bitch, I don't got no fucking integrity issue, because out of anybody I motherfucking know, I'm the only motherfucker who be telling the truth. But I have an integrity issue with myself, is what they were saying. And so what they were trying to explain to me is that truth comes from the body and lies come from the mind, or possibilities come from the mind. Uncertainty comes from the mind. And so they said, control, they were talking about like, they were talking about Taurus and Scorpio, right? And so they said Taurus and Scorpio are about truth, which is my sun and my moon sign. So my sun sign is Taurus, my moon is Scorpio, right? Which are two polarities of the same energy. And so they said Taurus and Scorpio are about the truth, and that I sit between the threshold and the polarities of these energies. So my battle is one of integrity. And so I was like, oh, like that's what I'm trying to learn in this lifetime, is integrity, because I sit in between these polarities. And they said the truth comes from the body, and then lies come from the mind. And so they talked about like fixed signs, and Scorpio and Taurus are both fixed signs. And so they said fixed signs are signs that fixate. And because they fixate on things, they try to control through knowing, since truth is like what those signs are here to kind of like teach us, that Taurus and Scorpio control through knowing. The truth is the only thing that we fix or we refine, is what they said. And so what's crazy about that is like what I've noticed about like Scorpio energy is that, or Scorpio and Taurus energy, is that we tend to kind of live above, well, I ain't gonna say live above the human experience, but we tend to want to know everything. Like, we do not like not knowing. And so there is a lot of times where Taurus and Scorpio go on these deep dives, and they I think that Taurus does it more through like the emotional landscape and more through like relationships, knowing in relationships. And so Taurus tends to be very emotionally mature and emotionally intelligent, because Taurus comes with a huge level of emotional vulnerability. But I think when you get to Scorpio, Scorpio is terrified of emotional vulnerability because it makes them feel exposed. And so they end up being like all or nothing. But both of these signs are signs that need to know. And so they're going to go into the deep end. They're going to do the work. Because if they can just know, then they can control the situation. Then they can strategize. Then they can plan. Then they can, whatever. And so they was telling me that Taurus and Scorpio try to control through knowing because it's the energy of truth. But because it's the energy of truth and we live in a reality that's distorted, the shadow side is that we're trying to maintain integrity. Okay, we need to be choosing truth over lies, and so like we lie to ourselves. We don't show up in relationships sometimes, so we'll just choose silence. I think I would choose silence sometimes and just kind of like watch people. That aloofness comes from Scorpio energy. And so yeah, and then they went on to talk about Cancer and Capricorn. And they said Cancer and Capricorn are how you develop a sense of safety. And so I was like, oh, that makes a lot of fucking sense, because Cancer focuses a lot on security and home and belonging in the family unit, where Capricorn focus a lot on like its comforts. Like when I think of a sign that won't give up its fucking comforts, I don't think Taurus. I think Capricorn, because I think Capricorn has a lot of self-imposed limitations, and Capricorn is going to be the sign that plays it safe. Like they don't want to take the risk, so they'll just convince themselves that it's not worth it for them. And so like they like to do the safe thing. And so I don't know if y'all watch Avatar: The Last Airbender, but if I was gonna name anybody in that show a Capricorn, it would be Sokka, because he only cares about his family unit. He don't care about everybody else. He only care about keeping his people safe, which is the safe thing to do, and he only he places all these restrictions and limitations on them, or on the whole entire group, so what they was telling me is that Cancer and Capricorn are how we develop a sense of safety. We can relate to Cancer and Capricorn are how we develop a sense of safety. So their issue is in emotional vulnerability. So the body versus performing. Okay, because I think that they have an issue with emotional vulnerability. Capricorns do not want to be seen. Cancers do not want to be seen. That's why Cancers manipulate, and Capricorns tend to kind of gatekeep their personality. And so emotional vulnerability is something that comes from the body. That's a lower vibe Cap trait though, right? Is there a lower vibe Capricorn, y'all? Like there are 3 different types of Capricorns, but it's all the same energy. I feel like a lot of times we try to separate ourselves from things that we feel like could possibly be true. So, I don't know if there's a lower vibe Capricorn or not. I wouldn't say that. I just think that y'all ruled by Saturn. And so Saturn is a planet of self-imposed limitations and things like that. Take it however you want to take it. Okay. I'm just sharing what the messages I'm getting. So, so they said there's an issue with emotional vulnerability within Capricorn and Cancer. Emotional vulnerability is something that comes from the body, which means it comes from your truth, versus the mind, which is where you start performing. And one thing that I would realize about Capricorn and Cancer is that they perform a lot. And what I mean by that is Capricorn, instead of taking a risk on their life, they will just act like everything is okay where they are, even if the job is tearing them up, or even if whatever, it's like they rely on their endurance to kind of get them through. Because I think Capricorn masters the mind through structural intelligence, like the things that they have actually learned through experience, whereas Cancer masters the mind through emotional intelligence, which is a little bit purer and it's more felt, and so they tend to perform. They tend to just keep their head down, do what the system is telling them to do, that type of thing, except for Cancer performs through perfectionism and how other people view them, whereas Capricorn is more so within the job force. And so both of these are cardinals, so they use force. And what they was telling me is the thing for them is pure intelligence. One thing about Capricorn and Cancer is that they are pure intelligence, but Capricorn's is lived and Cancer's is more so felt. And so Capricorn is going to be more practical, where Cancer is going to be a little bit more emotional in the way that they move. But the moral of the story is Capricorn and Cancer hate to feel. They hate to feel. Okay, even though they are feeling beings. Then they moved on to Virgo and Virgo and Pisces. And they were like, Virgo and Pisces are how we relate to spirit. Okay, so Cancer and Capricorn are how we relate to our sense of safety. Taurus and Scorpio are how we relate to the truth. And Virgo and Pisces, why do I keep on saying Pisces? Virgo and Pisces are how we relate to spirit. So Pisces is spiritual maturity and Virgo is spiritual intelligence. And so that's why Virgo's intuition is, and their discernment is literally insane. And it's because there are spiritual intelligence, whereas Pisces is spiritual maturity. And so their issue is in spiritual elitism, meaning like living above the human experience, because they have felt emotions on very, very deep levels and they understand them at a high level. They tend to live above the human experience. And so sometimes they can lack compassion. They can lack compassion for people who are going through like real things because they've already navigated it. And so sometimes they like kind of separate themselves to where they over intellectualize things instead of living them, because they feel like, you know, like the mundane emotions are basic to them because they've already experienced them at a deep level, if that makes sense. And so they're mutable, so they want to understand things. The mutable signs want to understand things, and that's what causes the flexibility within the sign, is that they understand things at a high level. But sometimes understanding things at a high level can cause issues because it leads to you intellectualizing emotions instead of feeling them, you know? And so they flow because they understand things. They can flow a lot better than most people. And so what they told me is they care a lot about figuring out how to flow. Like that is the whole goal of Virgo and Pisces, is they're trying to figure out how to flow. And so that's where their struggle is. And then they said Aries and Libra are how we relate to self and environment, others. Environment is others. So Aries and Libra are how we relate to ourselves, which is going to be Aries, and the environment or other people, which is going to be Libra. So their issue is in trust versus fear, open versus closed heart. Okay. And so those are all the signs that they gave me. Was Taurus, Scorpio, Cancer, Capricorn, Virgo, Pisces, Aries, Libra. And so 2, 4, 6, 8. And the other sign that I heard was Leo. To my understanding, there's only 9 signs, but then I read something later on that made me feel like that probably is not as complete as I think it is. And I could have been picking up on some distorted energy, but a lot of the other things that they said I agreed with. So I don't know if my identity is just getting in the way or what is stopping me from believing what I'm channeling. So I think that there's more to be developed. I'm the type of person that I don't feel like I need to figure everything out in the moment. If I don't understand something, I feel like whenever it's time for me to understand, I will. And so next, they started talking about us awakening through knowing. And truth, they said the truth will set you free. We move through knowing, and they talked about conceptual knowing, which is information or theory, applied knowing, which is practice and lived experience, and then embodied knowing, which is using what you know and understand to organize around this new truth. So living it until it becomes instinct or mastery, right? We're constantly moving through like those 3 things. And then they said the dreams and visions, etc., are just trying to give us imagery and stories meant to help us to understand the feelings that we're feeling. And so we're always trying to understand a feeling by the way, or running from one, dissociating, because feeling leads to truth. We are water-based feeling beings, is what they said. We were never meant to attach to the stories as our truth. We were meant to use them as tools to get clear directions. And so let me run that back real quick. So they said our dreams, our visions, etc., are just trying to give us imagery and stories meant to help us understand the feeling that we are experiencing. So we're always trying to understand a feeling, or we're always running away from one, which is dissociation. So we're either doing one or the other. And they said because feeling leads to truth, we are water-based feeling beings. And so we have to be rooted in our truth because we are water, right? We were never meant to attach to the stories as our truth. We were meant to use them as tools to get clear directions. Meaning like when you have an experience, right? A lot of us get stuck in the details of the experience. What happened? Who did what? Etc. Etc. 33 on how many people is in here? Who did what, right? And we get lost in that so much so that we never move from that. The story is only supposed to help you to figure out the lesson. The lesson is giving you directions on what direction you need to go. And so if you have an experience that you perceive to be bad, it's saying that you need to walk away from things that feel like that, right? And so the story and what happened and the people involved, that shit does not matter, right? That doesn't matter. What matters is the lesson that it taught you about yourself, because that lesson is telling you what you need, and that lesson is going to direct you going forward. Because if it looks like this, you pulled out the lesson, you set a boundary, the next time it shows up in your reality, you use that boundary so that you can continue to move away from that thing, right? Because if you don't like it or it causes confusion or any of that, that is a no. So that means don't keep going in that direction. You have to change directions. You have to choose another option, right? If it feels good, that's a yes. You can keep going in that direction. And so the experiences that we're having are directing us and telling us what direction to move. However, if you stuck in the details, if you stuck in the story that was only supposed to help you to understand the feeling, it'll cause pain and suffering. Does that make sense? Put some 444s in the chat if that makes sense to y'all. Okay, so then next they said, see, some of us want to know the full journey right now so we can prepare because we're expecting the worst to happen, which is a scarcity mindset. But we are meant to learn the next step as we go. It is a as we go thing. Living is literally moving through the unknown. Being so immersed in the experience and curious that we notice everything. And keep moving towards what feels right in the moment. So we don't realize that every time that we try to figure everything out, we pull ourselves out of the current moment into the future. Every time that we are trying to figure out, or every time that we are trying to heal, we pull ourselves out of the present moment into the past. You are supposed to be in the present moment. When you're looking back at the past, the only time you should look back at the past is if you're dealing with a situation that reminds you of something that you've been through, and you need to go back and get that lesson and that boundary to bring it forward into the now moment. Anytime you're looking at the future, you're just seeing where you're going, and then you're figuring out what's one step you can take today to get you closer to that. But too many of us spend time our whole life in the future because we feel like we're not where we're supposed to be. We should be further along, and so we're chasing something, or in the past, so we're drowning in something, right? And so what they are saying is that you are supposed to be learning as you go. And so most of us will experience trauma and just stand in fucking place waiting for something to happen, you know? And so it's like we are moving through the unknown, so we need to be so immersed in the experience and curious that we notice everything and keep moving towards what feels right in the moment. Living only for that moment, because they told me you only need to be living for that moment. Those of us who live in survival because of the environment that we live in, who are constantly worried about money, they're saying like, you have enough money for you to get through that day. Only worry about that day. Tomorrow's issue is for tomorrow. You know, like they kept telling me that. And it was like, that's how we get stuck in the scarcity mindset to where we don't have access to our wealth codes, because we start to worry and we start to fixate on not having. And because we fixate on not having, whatever we fixate on, we create an abundance of scenarios and experiences around that. And so if you fixate on not having, you create a bunch of experiences that are coming your way that prove to you that you don't have, you know? And so they're saying living only for that moment, and stop preparing. Wait, hold on. No, they said living only for that moment, but we too busy preparing because fear has hijacked our navigation system, right? And so that's why you got to pull yourself back into living only for that day, living only for that moment, because us preparing for the worst to happen, us spending our time trying to figure things out, is how fear hijacks us, right? And so that was a whole motherfucking word, by the way. Like that was like, oh, I mean, yeah, obviously, you know. Now I think I understand that, but like I wish I would have understood that shit 5 years ago. But again, that's me living in the past instead of being in the future. So it's like I forgive myself what I did not know then, and now moving forward with this information, I know how to navigate. So then they said, no, this is what I said. So after I channeled this part about the dreams and about us needing to learn how to live in the moment, that whole thing, I put that I feel like we need to go back to micro communities. We don't need to know everybody. Like, I think social media has caused this dynamic where we're constantly comparing ourselves to other people, and we're constantly realizing or feeling like we're not where we're supposed to be, even though we don't realize that a lot of them are performing, a lot of them are pretending. They're not actually where they're trying to get you to think that they are, you know? And so I think we need to go back to micro communities. Like, I don't think we need to be connected to the whole world. Why would we need to be connected to the whole world? It's no way for us to know all those people on a personal level any motherfucking way. And so anytime, this is what so I say the thing about the micro communities, and I started channeling, right? And so they said anytime cells in the body clump up, we get blockages in energy flow and cancer or disease, right? Which means that when we create cities and towns, because you got to think that we live in Earth's body, right? And so when we come together, all of a sudden, there's disease, there's plague, there's whatever. We need to spread the fuck back out. That's literally what my thought process was. But in the middle of me doing that, they basically gave me the analogy of like cancer in the body is like a group of cells bundled together, and that causes dis-ease in the energy, and how each one of us is our own cell within Earth's body, you know? And so like if we're not in coherence, it's like Earth's body fighting against itself, like an autoimmune disorder, you know? But if we're in coherence, you know, it creates harmony, it creates joy, it creates peace for everybody. We enter back into that golden age energy. And so as above, so below, you know? So then they start talking to me about intensity, because they've been telling me for a while that I'm afraid of my own intensity, which I feel like I am, because when I was a kid, if I would get mad, like I genuinely felt like I was going to take it so far that I would have to be in jail or like on trial as a child for the death penalty. Like I would literally feel like I was going to burst open, you know? And it's probably my Mars is in Aries, so I'm short tempered. And when I am angry, I'm like the fucking angry guy off the inside out. Like my fucking head is exploding, you know? And so I would always be afraid of myself when I got angry. And so whenever I would get angry, I would just like keep quiet, and I would just like get so frustrated I would start crying, because it's like I could really knock your fucking head off right now with one punch. You know, like that's how mad I was. And so they've been talking to me about my intensity and how I'm afraid of my own intensity, and how I've kind of like stifled myself because I don't ever allow myself to feel my energy fully. And so they told me that intensity creates urgency in an exhausted system. Okay? Angry tears are real. Child, I remember one time I was in like drill team or whatever, and me and my brother was in a school that technically we're not supposed to be in that school. Like we were using like my best friend's address. And so the only rule my mama had for us is like, do not get in fucking trouble. Violations. But the only rule that my mama had was don't get in trouble, right? Like y'all cannot get in trouble. Y'all cannot be kicked out of school. Like I want y'all to go to a good school, but you know, yeah, me too. I have a rage room in my head that I go to when I'm like in a tizzy. But so she was like, y'all can't get in trouble. And I was the type of kid who I genuinely wanted to make my mom's life easier, because my brother was a tyrant. Like my brother came out the womb not giving a F. Not if you was family, if you a grandma, if you whatever, he'll cuss everybody out just the same. You know, he would always be on the right side of things, but he just was a kid, and he never gave a fuck. And so I was like, I didn't want to stress my mama out, because like my brother got kicked out of class, like I got kicked out of art school, which she never knew about until I was an adult. But you know, it's like I was good at being the one who was the good child, right? And so I was doing drill team one day, and this girl got smart with me, and I promise y'all, like it was like I was about to explode. Like I didn't say anything, and me not saying anything sent me into a fucking spiral. And I was only in the 8th grade. I went to the bathroom, and I was like punching the fucking you know the things where you get the napkins out of? I was tearing that motherfucking thing up, and I called my mama, and I was crying. I was like, Mama, you have to come get me. Like, I'm going to fucking kill this bitch. And so my mama came to the school with my brother, and like I said, my brother he don't give a fuck. My brother walked in there and cussed every motherfucking body out. Then my mama was trying to calm him down to talk to the teacher in a professional way, but my brother was already off the motherfucking handle, because my brother don't fucking play about me. Never did, never will. And he was like, my sister ain't gonna say nothing, but oh, it's okay, bitch. I got you. He was on that. I love him for that. But anyways, So they said intensity creates urgency in an exhausted system. And so if your system is exhausted because you've been running on fumes, because you're in survival mode, intensity is going to create urgency, which can cause spiritual bypassing, because it feels so intense that you want to transcend it and you want to fix it instead of sitting with it, right? And so trying to transcend or rationalize a feeling instead of feeling it, right? So in an exhausted system, intensity can cause spiritual bypassing because you're trying to transcend or you're trying to rationalize a feeling instead of feeling it, instead of allowing it to exist without you trying to control or fight it. It's just passing through to give you a message and clarity on what the next step is. But intensity comes with major shifts. That's what you got to understand. When you are feeling something intensely or something feels too heavy to integrate, it's usually what you just asked for coming in, right? And so that's why we run from it, because we know that intensity comes with major shifts. And so it's what dark or dense energy feels like, which means that earth energy of infinite potential feels like intensity. And so we have to learn how to hold our own intensity, because that is our abundance coming in, is what they was basically telling me. And so they start talking again, because y'all know how I said that every woman looks through life through these three lenses. There's the forward facing face, that face, and that face. So if you ever looked at the triple deity, Hecate, or anything like that, you'll usually see a face in the front and then two faces on the side. It's because it's showing us that women usually look through three perspectives. The mother, the maiden, the crone. And so they said the crone is the eternal self. So it's the version of you that's very ancient, and it comes from earth, because earth is the eternal. Eternal just means it exists outside of time and space. Okay. The crone, or the great mother, is who remembers all. Like, that's the part of you that knows your truth is directly connected to your sacral or your water womb, because your truth comes from your womb. It comes from your ancestral instincts, which comes from your womb. Your gifts come from your womb. You generate soul energy from your womb. It's just all of that, right? And so if you close because the last time you experienced intensity, the experience hurt you or traumatized you, you will fear intensity and rush into the mind to fix instead of feel. So let me run that back. They said, if you close because the last time you experienced intensity, the experience hurt or traumatized you, you will fear intensity and rush into the mind to fix instead of feel it. The crone energy, or the earth energy, the eternal energy, is the gate to the dead or your ancestors. Okay. And so psychic gifts come from your womb. And so if you have sexual trauma, or anytime like there wasn't consent, meaning like maybe you're dating somebody and they're like, I'm a man, I have needs, but you don't really want to have sex, like that's, you would say yes with your mind, but your body is saying no. If there's sexual trauma, sexual abuse, anything like that, any type of sexual coercion of any sorts, sometimes your womb will take the hit for that. And there's concentrated energy there because you've never wanted to give your body away in that way anyways. And also if you're sleeping with somebody that your body don't want to sleep with, you know, because we can say yes to something and our womb will say no, you know, and we'll just go against our womb and go against our truth, even though we know, you know. But I also think sometimes women will sleep with men because not sleeping with them is unsafe. And it's like, either I'm going to get raped or I'm going to, you know, so it just depends. They said that the crone energy, or the water womb, which is your sacral, is the gate to the dead of your ancestors. I think that's important because that, again, that chakra, it needs consent. And everything that happens to women in this reality, and the reason why I feel like men want to control a woman's womb and what happens with a woman's womb is because if they can do that, they can control your truth. If you feel like you have no... if you feel hopeless and you feel like you have no autonomy over yourself, it'll disconnect you from your truth, you know? And so I really feel like that's what the whole abortion shit is about. And like all of the stuff that they're literally trying to control our truth, because they do that through the education system. That's why you can't ask questions outside of the framework. All of it is trying to condition us against our truth, because what they're trying to do on a higher level is control the truth. The fight is between those who remember and those who have forgotten. And that's why they keep trying to erase history and all of this shit. Is all about them controlling the truth, because if they can control the truth, they can control you. The only thing that you have is your motherfucking truth. When you're living in alignment with your truth, you generate soul energy in the highest manifested form. Okay, because soul energy is something that needs to be generated. It's generated from your water womb. It's generated from your truth, right? And if you're in alignment with your truth, you generate a lot of it. But if you're not in alignment with your truth, you burn out, right? And that's something I said in the previous things. And so that's how you know you're not in alignment with your truth. You burn out. And so They said it's the gate to the dead of your ancestors, not just yours, but all ancestors, because they told me that all ancestors are our ancestors, because we are all earth in motion. So that means everybody who has ever incarnated on earth is your ancestors. They are spirits that you can commune with. It don't have to just be the people within your lineage, but the people within your lineage have a vested interest in you excelling, right? And so you want to have a relationship with them, but you also want to just have a relationship with all spirits, because all spirits can help you, right? And so they said animals included. And then they went on to talk about the animal kingdom, the elemental spirits, shadows, ancients, and timekeepers, which are responsible for the vaults. And I didn't know that the timekeepers are the Mayans, and that the Mayans just phased out of this reality. Like they knew that they planted specific seeds and then phased out of this reality. So they talked about the animal kingdom. They was talking about elemental spirits, the shadows, the ancients, which I don't know what the fuck the ancients are. And then they said the timekeepers. And then they went on to tell me that one of my mentees is part of my soul family, but the twin mentees that I have are a part of my star. We have the same star guides. And I was like, oh, okay. And they told me that. And then they were saying Earth is eternal and she is fixed. Eternal means she lives outside of time. And so Earth cannot die. There's not going to be an event where Earth blows up or nothing. Earth cannot die. She is fixed and she is decided. We embody here because of it, because she is fixed, because she is decided. But her energy is not infinite. The infinite energy is Neptune, right? Her energy is not infinite, meaning that she burns out, right? Like we burn out. And so it runs out when we stop moving. Her energy runs out when we stop moving, because it's through us embodying our light that Earth continues to evolve and grow. It's through our expansion that she keeps to that she's able to expand and grow. Because you got to think about, the cells in your body have to be in a healthy place in order for you to grow and expand. Otherwise, cancer, death, disease, you know, as above, so below. And so they said, when we stop evolving or moving through new truths, because that's how we evolve and grow, we have to move through new truths. Because as we expand our awareness, our truth expands as well. And so you only really know a half truth at all times. You don't ever really have the full picture, right? As you expand and grow, you learn new things about yourself. You learn, you gain new perspective. And so when we stop evolving or moving through new truths, which we call knowing, she stops evolving and growing. And that's why I feel like that's why school is so important and it's mandatory for everybody. Because if I can just give you the answer, you won't go seeking something outside of yourself. And now I think AI is a supplement for intuition, and it's a tool that's going to help people to spiritual bypass. Because you think you're using your intuition, whole time you're just getting the answers from something. If you can just get the answers from something, they can control your truth, right? And so you can't destroy Earth, because Earth is a dream. It's like a memory field of sorts, right? It's an illusion. That's why it's called the realm of illusions. You know it's an illusion realm because mirroring happens here. So when you go to a circus, right, and you go into an illusion house, you go into mirrors, right? Mirrors that are reflecting back to you, and you know. And so they was kind of telling me it's like we got lost in the mirrors. Like we walked into an illusion house and then we start fighting the fucking mirrors, right? And so we experience through mirroring. And so your experiences, anything that you experience in your life, any experience that you have is mirroring to you something you need. And so we're supposed to notice the experience and not embody the experience as a personality trait, right? We are supposed to notice what happened, look for the beauty in it, look for the lesson. When I say look for the beauty in it, I mean look for the lesson. Because if you don't look for the lesson, then you just become a victim of whatever the circumstance was, right? Because a victim is somebody who feels hopeless, powerless, and feels like life is happening to them. And then when you're moving from that perspective, when you're moving from blame consciousness, you are at the lowest level of consciousness. You cannot move from there. You have to look for the beauty. What did it teach you that you would not have learned had you not had this experience? You have to look for that, because that's what helps you to break out of the illusion. If you don't look for that, you just get stuck in a loop. It's like you in the illusion. Is this only on TikTok today? Yeah, because YouTube wasn't playing sound. So I don't know what was going on with YouTube this morning, but I didn't have time to figure it out. Y'all know my patience is about thin as wind. And so what I'm going to do is take this off of TikTok. I'm going to download it and I'm going to post it on YouTube when I get done. But they were saying like we live in a mirroring realm, right? So every single experience is mirroring where you are going. And so if you have an experience that you do not like, you need to make a different choice. And so if you normally make the choice to cuss people out and yell at people, maybe you need to make the choice to walk away, figure out why you feel triggered, come back and have a different conversation, you know, whatever your thing is, right? And so they said, hold on. We experience through mirroring. That's why frequency tuning is matching the mirror. Okay? Every time you do a spell, you are mirroring. Your intention, playing it out using herbs and symbology and tools. We have to know we are in a mirroring realm, because if we don't, we get caught / confused in the mirrors and we start performing out of desperation for relief. Okay? We start performing out of desperation for relief. It's like looking for something and not being able to find it. So you give up, but can't escape it because you started the simulation already. And so they was talking to me about like archetypes and how we're all playing out different archetypes on smaller levels or different patterns. If you start the pattern, if you start moving in the direction of a pattern until you break the pattern, you're not going to be able to get out of the pattern, you know? And so it's like getting stuck or getting lost in that illusion mirror place and not being able to find your way out, and then getting so desperate that you just start breaking through the mirror instead of trying to look for different avenues, if that makes sense. And so they said it's like looking for something and not being able to find it, so you give up but can't escape it because you started the simulation, which means you ask the question and recognize the pattern. That's how you start the simulation, because we don't realize that we grow and evolve through having a question, right? Meaning like, who am I? Right? The moment you say, who am I? Your experiences start to show you who you are, you know, because you ask the question, and then now spirit has to bring you something so you can recognize the pattern to get the question answered. Everything is a question asking thing, because questions lead to truth, right? And that's why I say you got to have a curious mind when it comes to life. You got to be willing to understand that there are multiple truths that exist at once. You don't have to figure it out right now, but you do need to notice the multiple truths and have an open mind when it comes to exploring truth, because we live in a reality that tries to tell us what the truth is. And that's why we got so many people who are living in distortion and who care more about being right than they care about getting to the truth, because the truth is what they're trying to control. And so if they can condition you, then you'll do the work for them of self-doubt. You know, we'll do the work of fighting amongst each other about what the truth actually is. But because they created an environment where we only think one truth exists, which is religion, Christianity, which is what they taught us in school, history, science. All of those things are created to keep you away from the truth. And that's what people don't fucking understand. Every single thing in society was created to keep you away from the truth. Because if they can stagnate you, then we don't evolve and grow, and we can stay in a Mars energy. A Mars energy, that's why I keep on saying, oh, we're going back to Mars. Mars is an energy that exists on Earth already. Mars is what we consider to be hell energy, which is war, fighting, survival mode. You know, just like Jupiter is not a planet. Jupiter is an energy that exists on Earth, you know? And so, yeah. Where am I at? So they said, until the answer is known, you have to stay in the mirrors, because the mirrors are the illusions. The illusions are helping you to develop discernment, right? Because the whole goal is to discern and to refine. That's our only goals as humans. It's not to be perfect, because perfection comes from performance. It comes from this idea of shame. Something is wrong with me. When you feel like something is wrong with you and you don't belong, you start performing, right? And then you, at the end result of that is perfection. No, I'm not reading Earth. This was me having a conversation with my eternal self. And I just wrote down like some of the things that I was getting. And so they said, until the answer is known, you have to stay in the mirrors, which means you keep having experiences, you keep meeting people, you keep having the same feelings over and over again. Everybody's making you feel the same. And it's because you're stuck in the mirror. You need to break the pattern. You have to interrupt the identity, you know? And so the mirrors or illusions are in the applied knowing stage, which is when you're practicing, when you're moving. Yeah, The planets, no, the planets are not the chakras of Earth. The planets are the chakras of the universe we live in. Earth has her own chakras, which is Mount Shasta. There's one in Peru. There's one in UK. There's one in Hawaii, you know? And so, oh, you're welcome. But no, the planets are the chakras of the universe. But as above, so below. Because you got to realize that we have a microcosm, a mesocosm, and a macrocosm. The microcosm would be us. The mesocosm would be Earth. The macrocosm would be the universe we live in. And so as above, so below. There's always three things happening at once, right? And then when we talk about us evolving and growing, there's also three things happening. The conceptual knowing, understanding something as a concept. So understanding something as information, as a theory. Then you need to take it from theory to applying it. So then you need to start practicing it, because once you live it, you will know the truth. That when you step into the applied knowing, the practice stage, that's when the mirrors appear. Right? That's when the mirrors appear, which means that is a time where you have to discern, because you're moving through a threshold. That's when Mercury energy comes up, which is the energy of messengers. You get messengers, and that comes through experiences, that comes through people, that comes through things, you know? And so when you move into that practice stage, you don't need to be perfect, because if you focus on being perfect, you can never be authentic. You won't get to the truth. You have to allow yourself to be a fucking mess. You have to be honest with yourself about where you are. You have to be honest with yourself about the feeling, because if you're not being honest and you're not moving in integrity, you just get stuck in the illusion, right? And so the applied knowing stage, when you start practicing and living to figure out what you know, because you're living an experience to figure out what you know. You're trying to figure out what is true. You do not know what is true from a conceptual lens, as an idea, as a theory, you know, and our whole entire scientific community is based off of a theory. The theory of gravity, the theory of relativity, the theory of whatever. Everything is a theory. And we basically make decisions off of those theories as if those theories are true, when we're not actually practicing to figure out whether or not that's true for us. You know, so our whole reality is based off of concepts instead of actual knowing, because the West has been spiritual bypassing for a long time. We don't actually want to know the truth. We want it to look like we know the truth. Right? We don't actually want to live the thing, feel the thing. We want to understand it from a processing intellectual side, but that's spiritual bypassing, because the only way for you to know the truth is through your body, which means you have to actually fucking live it. Right? And so when you start practicing and living to figure out what you know, which is what I consider swimming, when you're swimming in the ocean of possibilities, when you're driving the car down the road on the journey, it is the threshold. That's when you're moving through the threshold. So everything that's going on around you is meant to distract you, because we are collectively moving through a threshold, which means like right now in society, everything is meant to distract you. Everything is meant to be an illusion. So that's why we have entertainers and celebrities and social media and stuff like that, because everything is trying to distract you, because on a collective level, we are going through a big ass mirror. We are going through the applied knowing stage where we're practicing something new, which is a new way of living, because the old way of living is actually dying right now. We're moving out of the concept into the practicing something new stage, right? And so, you know that it's an illusion if it causes fear or panic, okay? You know that it's an illusion if it causes fear or panic, because fear or panic is what keeps us from the truth. When you fear something, you tend to reject it. You tend to go in the other direction. When you panic, you tend to try to transcend it and fix it, and you move into your mind instead of continuing to live the experience, even though it's scary, right? And so, you know it's an illusion if it causes fear or panic, but the goal is to walk through the illusion to collect your truth, because truth is the currency that leads you to abundance. The more truth, the more wealth. So align with your truth so that you can be more abundant. You will not be abundant if you're not living from your truth, because your truth, when you're aligned with your truth, walking with your truth, it creates the highest manifested energy in this reality. It is literally what opens you up to abundance. It is what makes your energy infinite, you know? And so a lot of us, because we're not connected to our truth, we're not connected to source, because source is the truth. We are not connected to truth, therefore we are not connected to source. And because we're not connected to source, we don't get this abundant feeling of love, because the highest manifested feeling is love, right? authenticity, bliss, excitement, abundance, like joy, all of that, right? Because we're not connected to that, we steal energy by stealing truth. Okay. I feel like that's what destiny swapping is. You're trying to steal somebody else's truth. That's what destiny swapping is. You're trying to manipulate energy so that you can gain abundance from their essence and not your own, right? But also we steal energy all the time when it comes to intimidating other people. Then they passively give energy to us, and we don't realize on an energetic level, when somebody is intimidated, if they take on the role of a passive in that situation, they will pour energy into you willingly just to get you out of their fucking face. You know, and that's just how our bodies kind of work, because everything is a sacred energy exchange. And so intimidation and interrogation are the masculine ways to get energy. Aloofness, which is mysteriousness, like where you don't really show up in relationships, you watch everybody else and you notice everything about them, but you don't allow yourself to be seen. So aloofness, like where you kind of become invisible. And poor me, victimhood. Those are passive ways to steal energy, because when you're the victim, people will just pour energy into you because you've had such a tough time and so many experiences. And some people live from that place because that's the only way they know how to get energy, you know? And I'm not saying that what you've been through didn't happen. It did. But again, you're living in blame. You're living in the lowest level of consciousness, and you are refusing to move. And so you need to keep telling the stories over and over again, because then people are going to willingly pour into you. But anyways, so they said hoarding. People hoard energy. Some steal energy by stealing the truth, which is our society, our education system, our government. Hoarding it and attacking the mirror. Meaning like they don't actually want to learn from the experience. They keep rejecting the mirror. They don't want to look at themselves in the mirror. They would just rather steal it from other people, or look at other people and whatever. And so they are distorted light embodied. People who are living out of connection with their truth are distorted light embodied. They're never going to see your truth because they cannot see their own, you know? And so what happens when you abandon, what happens when we abandon our truth and actively start participating in the illusions? Okay? We joined the circus. That's what they said. We've just joined the circus. And so, hold on, let me go back, because that cracked me the fuck up. So, what happens when we abandon our truth and actively start participating in the illusions? We just joined the circus. That's what they said. I just cracked the fuck up. And they said, truth is the only thing in this world that's free because it comes from you. Everybody has their own truth. Everybody was embodying their own truth, right? I was arguing with incels last night, literally joined the circus. Yeah. Some people are committed to the lies. Some people are committed to the lies. You're never going to be able to get through to a person who does not want to transform. And you know that they don't want to transform because they're rejecting you. That's how you know. You know, they're going to be determined to misunderstand you, because the consequence of listening to you is that they have to show up differently. They have to do something differently. And so what do they do instead? They just steal your energy, because the moment that you start proving, convincing, and trying to save them, you are now leaking energy, and that energy is up for grabs. Yeah. And so they use intimidation. They use interrogation. They asking you stupid, well, that doesn't make sense. That's the only thing I could think of that the motherfuckers be doing. You are meant to stay embodied in your truth, even if nobody else agrees with you. You are meant to not collapse on your truth just because a voice is louder than yours. You can hold your truth, but you also need to be in a state, you need to be as the witness. You cannot be trying to fix, save, and heal people. You have to be the witness. You have to notice what's happening and notice when somebody is unwilling to change, and keep your lippy in a motherfucking zippy and move in a different direction. I will come into a room and people will be discussing something. They'll be like, Tadra, what do you think? And I'll be like, I don't have an opinion about it. And I'll just turn the fuck around when I know I'm amidst a bunch of people who just want to argue to be right instead of actually fucking listening. I don't really got an opinion about it. And I just move the fuck on. What do you mean you don't have an opinion? I don't want to share it. That's what I mean. And then I just keep the fuck on. I keep on going. You know, when I get a lot of clients who want relief. They don't want the actual fucking truth. So they'll come to me and I will tell them what I feel like the truth is. And they'll be like, well, no, I don't feel like this. And they get to defending something. And I would say, okay, the only thing I can do is tell you the truth from my perspective. This is what I'm getting. So, you know, I don't know what else to tell you. I'm not going to argue with you about what you think it is. You ask me what I think it is. This is what I think it is. How you take that is up to you. The only thing I can ever do is give people the truth from my perspective. It's not my job to make sure they understand it. It's not my job to make sure they integrate. It's not my job to make sure they start applying it for their life. That is not our job. That's you trying to do everybody else's work to make yourself feel safe. When you know who you are and you know what your truth is, you don't need to prove your truth. The truth does not need any proof. The truth can be fucking felt. You know, I think I get on here, I'll say a whole bunch of shit that's like, damn, I don't really know if I should believe that. Or the truth can be felt. There's so many people who resonate with me because all I can tell you is what I'm picking up on. My truth is not wrong. Your truth is not wrong. You know, it's just that some people are looking through a distorted lens. And so you have to be able to call out distortion when you see distortion. And so they said the truth is the only thing in the world that's free because it comes from inside of you. You are like, you got to understand, Earth is a living library. You are the library card. You are Earth in motion, which means the library actually lives inside of you. The reason why they keep trying to erase you is because the history that they keep trying to tell us, it lives inside of us. That's why they call it his story. His story. His story is the patriarchy story. But her story is in here. Right? And so they don't care about unalive and melanated people because the more melanin you got, the more connected to Earth you are. The lack of melanin is you're more connected to the stars. Okay? So melanated beings have the ability to see the truth in Earth's reality. So you know how like you can hide things from yourself inside of your body? Like you can hide memories. You don't really remember what childhood was like or whatever the thing was. It's all hidden in your body. It's not that it's gone or it's forgotten. It's that you just haven't put awareness on the inside of your body. Earth has the same things. Like she has trauma that's stored in specific locations and specific areas. And when you are open, you can pick up on some of that and bring back the truth of the situation. You don't ever have to wonder about what happened in history because you can tap into it right fucking now. You can tap into it right now, but it requires you to be in tune with the subtle realm, which is the inside of your body. The inside of your body needs stillness. It needs you listening instead of talking. Talking is an external, masculine way of bringing your ideas and what's happening inside of your body outside, right? But in order for you to figure out what you need to be bringing outside, you need to be listening and sitting in stillness so that you can hear what's going on inside of your body, because there are stories, there are memories from the people who came before you, from the different versions of yourself, from everything. It all lives inside of you. It's in your DNA, and your DNA is like a storage facility. It has tons and tons of information. Everything that ever existed already lives inside of you, you know? You just gotta, what we're doing, what we gotta understand about us is that we're a conscious point of awareness. We are bringing things from the unconscious back into the conscious awareness. We are dreaming the library back into existence. That's what we're doing. And that's why your truth is important, because there is no right truth or no wrong truth. There are multiple things that are going on at one time. Our goal is just to speak up about it. And as we share our truths, we start to connect the dots. You know, and that's why everybody has a function. Everybody is needed. You know, I'm no better than you. You're no better than them. There is no fucking hierarchy. Hierarchy is a way to destroy people's concept of self-worth. Worth was never something that you had to earn. Worth is something that you were inherently born with. You are born with every single tool that you need to do what you came here to do. You are perfect for it, by the way. You don't have to chase perfection. You're perfect for what your truth is. But you got to get aligned with your truth and stop doubting your truth and stop gaslighting yourself just because everybody around you felt like they was allergic to your motherfucking truth. Them rejecting you was just them telling you that your truth is too much for them to hold. They don't got the vision for your truth. They looking through tunnel vision. You got panoramic. Get around some other motherfuckers who got panoramic and stop trying to talk to a motherfucker who got tunnel vision, who's only wants the one truth to exist. Get around motherfuckers, because otherwise you're going to feel crazy. You're going to feel like something is wrong with you, because we live in a reality full of distortion when really you didn't come here for them to understand you. You came here to understand yourself. It was never about them. It was never about whether or not they liked you or whether or not they chose you or whether or not, because you're already chosen. You literally were designed for this shit. But we too busy hating ourselves instead of trying to figure ourselves out. And it's not really, you don't even got to figure yourself out. You just need to create a safe environment enough for your truth to arise. And the environment you're creating is your first house in astrology. Whatever's in your first house. Mine is Libra. I need balance. I need reciprocity in relationships. I need mutual respect and fairness in relationships. I need to figure out how to show up for other people without abandoning myself. That's how I create a safe environment for my truth to arise. The moment that I created that, the moment that I focused on my safety and in relationships, it changed everything. Now I can hear myself. Because if you are, you know, our only job is this version of us, because there's three of us in here. We are three in one. You got your eternal self, which is ancient. It lives outside of time and space. And then you got your higher self, which is just a 6-dimensional version of you, right? And then you have you. The higher self job is to make sure that you live a life of pleasure. You live a life you actually enjoy. Well, that's my higher self. My higher self is Venus. Venus is about pleasure, right? My eternal self, which is Scorpio, is about you healing your betrayal wound, learning how to trust again, learning how to open again, right? Learning how to stay committed to truth over lies, because Scorpio is secrets, lies, manipulation, deception, but it's also depth. You know, so my truth comes from my depth. How deeply I meet myself is where my truth comes from. When I start expressing from that depth, when I start expressing from that truth, abundance just comes from me, or comes towards me. And so the whole purpose of me even showing up and doing these lives is me expressing my truth. Why? Because that's me moving with my truth. And when I'm moving with my truth, I am in the highest manifested energy. Therefore, I am receiving abundance. You know what I'm saying? So anyways, truth is the only thing that's free because it comes from you. It rises from within you. Okay? Because you're not channeling truth down. We spend a lot of time channeling, right? Which is the ideas, the thoughts, whatever. Some of us channel all motherfucking day, but we don't know how to integrate that shit. Integration comes from stillness. It comes from rest. We feel guilty when we rest because we've tied our worth to productivity. How much we can do for other people. How much we can accomplish. How much we can achieve. The money, the cars, the clothes, the family. Right? But your worth has nothing to do with that. Worth is an earth energy. You have already proven your worth. Otherwise, you would have never came through that womb. You would have never came through that womb. Earth chose you because she needed your specific energy for something. You know? And so, truth rises from within. You don't want to channel. You can't channel truth down, which means you can't think your way into truth. You have to feel your way into truth. And so, they only create the illusion that they control it, so you stop searching. And the illusion that they control the truth is through government systems. It's through these public fucking trials that they hold, right? Because it's like, oh, he was defending himself. Like, for example, the young black boy who was defending himself and he ended up killing the white boy and he just got sentenced to 35 years. They want you to feel hopeless. They want you to feel like if you do anything, you're going to be punished. If you don't move with their truth, there's going to be severe punishment for you. And they are banking on the fact that you don't know who the fuck you are. You know? And even with that system is copyright infringement. The whole judicial system is copyright infringement. They have infiltrated us. But we were sovereign beings. And we gave up our sovereignty with the social security system. You know? And so when you understand that and you can reclaim your sovereignty, ain't shit they can do. You don't even have to show up to court. You can send a special appearance notice. I don't know who this is for, but there's a notice of mistake. You know, but we don't be knowing that shit. But anyways. All right. So next they said, and I question this. Okay. I put a question mark next to everything that I'm just like, I don't know, but I'm going to write it down. So they said we moved into illusion in 2012. It's over because we already decided as a timeline that we want better. So it feels like there is a mixing of information because we do all come from different timelines. Meaning like those of us who chose, you know, because timelines are like, you're not moving through time, you're moving through different timelines, right? And so you're not the version that you were yesterday. That version was a completely different version than this version. Like, could you be internally linked? Yes, but that version is always going to stay in yesterday, right? This version is a new version every single day. It's almost like, you know those little books where they be creating cartoons and you can flip through the books and every single page it look like they moving, but every single page is its own page. I don't know I feel like if you're not born in the 90s, you might not know what I'm talking about. But it's how they make animation art, like 2D art back in the day. Well, karma is really you taking a vow, you know? And so everything is a covenant. Everything is a contract, right? And so karma is about, like, for example, say you were in a previous life. Yeah, flip book. Say you were in a previous life and somebody betrayed you and you said, I'm never going to allow somebody to do that to me again. You fragment in that moment. You choose to let the pain determine who you are instead of your truth. Instead of just realizing that, yeah, this was shitty. Yeah, this fucking sucked. Next time I know what the signs are going to be and I'm going to move differently. You closed off. So the moment you close off, you put like an energetic imprint on your field. And until you complete that pattern, until you see that it was never you. Because when we adjust ourselves, it's because of shame. We think that we're the fucking problem, not realizing that it's the other fucking person, right? We internalize that as something must be wrong with me. I need to change the way I show up, right? And so when you do that, you fragment. And so you create like an energetic imprint on your field. And until you alchemize that energy, it just keeps coming back to you every single year around the same time, or it'll follow you into different lifetimes and stuff like that. So that's really it. But also like cause and effect, what you push out you have to experience it, because you got to understand that we create energy every single day, right? And you are responsible and you are the guardian of what it is that you create. So whatever it is that you create, you also have to experience. And so that's kind of like cause and effect is what I call that, but karma. And so like, also you got to understand that a lot of us who are, I'm trying to say this carefully. Let's just say the 144,000, okay? Those of us who are actually beings in this reality, light beings in this reality, supposed to be in this reality, what you got to understand is, damn, I had the truth to tell y'all, but I fucked up in the process of me trying to say it perfectly, and that's why you just got to say the fucking thing. Hold on, let me go back to karma. She was talking about karma. Karma. The law of cause and effect. Hold on. I'm trying to get it back. Fuck. I know, I got that part, but it was like, where was I going with that though? Hold on, let me walk myself back through it. So I was talking about the law of cause and effect, because she asked me like, where does karma come from? I talked about the law and cause and effect, and how sometimes we create energetic imprints on our field. And then that follows us into next lifetimes. I feel like it has something to do with karma specifically. Well, whatever. Whenever it comes back. Yeah, I know that part. Y'all, I know that part. It's just like, where was I going with it? Anyways, if it comes back, I'll talk about it. Anyway, so let's get back to the timeline thing. Okay, so we're not moving through time, we're moving through different timelines, right? And with us moving through different timelines, we are choosing those timelines, and a lot of times that happens in our sleep, or it happened before we got here, right? And so that's what deja vu is like, you remember selecting a timeline, or you went through timeline selection in your sleep, right? And so a lot of us are experiencing Mandela effects and stuff like that, because some of us, like those of us who have chosen to move into the new earth frequency, those of us who have chosen to align with our truth, we all enter kind of like into the same space, into the same timeline. And so that's why there can be differences in what you remember, but also you got to understand that we fix the past in the present moment. And so anytime that we correct something from the past change, because the past, present, and future are not happening in a line, they're happening simultaneously. And so it's kind of like, you know, like those movies where you go into like they go into the past, and if they change something while they're in the past, it changes everything moving forward. Yes, the same thing. That also happens in the now moment. If we heal a trauma on a collective level, it'll change the past, because everything is intrinsically connected, but happening at the same time. If that makes sense, does that make sense? But anyways, and so there's always 3 earths moving at one time, is what they said. There are always 3 earths moving at one time: physical, spiritual, and spiritual, which is mental, and like the soul energy, the collective consciousness. So I thought that was interesting. That's what I put a question mark next to, because I was just like, oh, I don't know. You genuinely don't understand how what? And also too, I want to say we got to stop being obsessed with understanding things, because you don't need to understand something with your mind. Your mind is 10% of who you are. It does not have the capacity to understand an infinite world, right? It only has the capacity to understand what's right in front of it at that moment. And so our obsession with trying to process everything is what's causing a delay in our growth, is because you don't need to process it here. You need to process it here. You need to feel into it. Oh, how we can change the past from the present moment, you know, I think that that's something you just need to hold in your back pocket until you do understand. Okay? Because I don't think you can understand it in a logical way, because it's not a logical thing. I think it goes against everything that you've been conditioned and taught, because you've only been taught to think in logical, linear ways. And so until you can see outside of that, I don't think you would understand it. Because the past, present, and future, it's like we're on a spiral. You know, and all of them are connected. And so one informs the other, one impacts the other, vice versa. It's kind of like when you come to a new truth and a new understanding. The way that you thought about it before just doesn't exist anymore. You know, and so it changes the way that you move, because the way that you were moving before just doesn't exist anymore. You know, and so it adjusts to what does exist. You know, and that's why sometimes people forget their memories. It's not because... some people forget their memories because of trauma, but some people forget what happened in the story in certain experiences because they shifted so much that that's not even a possibility for them anymore. They're too far away from it, you know? But yeah, just hold that then. You know, I don't think, again, everything that I tell y'all is what I'm getting. And so take it as a theory and then try to apply it to your life. Like literally try to apply it, and it's through you trying to apply it that your truth is revealed. You know, this is just my truth. Okay. Yeah. Yep. Exactly. Changing how I relate to a particular trauma in the present changes how I react to that past. Yeah. I always thought it was because I was smoking too much in my early 20s. Girl, no, I smoke to this day. Actually, as soon as I go get my motherfucking cat, the blunt is rolled. You know? So, no, and some spirits don't even care about you smoking. There's specific spirits that won't work with you because you smoke. But yeah, sometimes they don't. My eternal self gets a little pissy with me about smoking, but my higher self, she don't give a fuck. So it just depends, because those are earth teachers. As long as it's not something that's manufactured and made like LSD, you know, you should be good. But anyways, so they said that, and I was just like, oh, I don't know if I believe that, but I just put a question mark next to it just because I'm open to new truths. I don't think I need to have the answer of whether or not I believe it in the moment that I get the message. I just need to have awareness of what the thing is so that I can notice things in my environment that may later on either prove it to be right or prove it to be wrong for me, you know? And so next they said, truth is free, but my explanations are not. And so, yeah, I thought that was interesting because they went on to kind of like explain to me that like sometimes people use me to spiritual bypass, meaning like they use me to come get the answer instead of actually doing their own work and sitting with themselves and illuminating their truth. Kind of how like people use AI for answers, you can also use other people to spiritual bypass, and that they wanted me to stop doing that. And so like there's certain people that I've had to like turn them away, and they was telling me that it's sometimes within my rejection that they can see the truth, because they like, you know, like, oh, she's telling me I have to do my own work, whatever. It's like, oh, nobody's going to help me. It's in that desperation that the truth actually reveals itself. And so they said, the truth is free, but your explanations are not. And so, because I get a lot of people who will write me. Yeah, exactly. I get a lot of people who will write me and they'll be like, well, I feel like mentorship should be free. And if y'all are charging for mentorship and then y'all are charging, no, what I'm charging you for is my truth. Okay, I'm sorry, not my truth. I'm charging you for my explanation of how I got to my truth, because you don't want to do your own fucking work. And so if you're going to spiritual bypass through me, there's nothing that I get out of that exchange. And so the only thing I can get out of that exchange, so it's a fair exchange and you're not just depleting my energy and using my energy for your benefit, is money. Because in the reality we live in, money is the way that we exchange energy, you know? And so one, I got to be rooted in reality. Money is the easiest way for us to exchange energy. But you cannot just get my explanation and how I got to something and how I got to my truth for free because you don't want to do the work, you know? And so they were saying truth is free, but the explanations are not. Wanting me to explain or prove is you using me to spiritual bypass instead of living it, because you're supposed to live it. You're supposed to come to your own truth. You are asking me to just give you the answer so you don't have to do the work. Bypassing your own truth for mine. bypassing your own truth for mine. That's going to cost you. This is Amara talking, by the way. This is my higher self talking, right? And so she said, that's going to cost you because you're asking me to give you my truth, my energy, my currency, directly to you to invest in you energetically. That's an energy exchange and that's sacred. And then she said, money is the physical manifestation of energy exchange in its reality. Yeah, but I'm going to have to take this off of TikTok. So it take me a second to download it off of TikTok and then upload it to YouTube because the sound on YouTube just was not working earlier. So I just was like, oh, fuck, well, it's okay. I'll just put this on YouTube after. But it just, I would say give me to the end of the day and I'll have it up. But they said... that's energy exchange and that's sacred, meaning like it has to be flowing in both ways. Remember I said my first house is in Libra, which means Libra is the energy of sacred energy exchange. There needs to be reciprocity. That's why Libra cares a lot about justice. You know, when they pour into somebody and they don't get nothing back in return, Libras feel some motherfucking type of way about that. You know, and they care about what's just, what's right, what's fair. And it's because they are the energy of sacred energy exchange. And so money is the physical manifestation of energy exchange in this environment. Spirit told me that I got to stop living above the human experience. And I need to recognize what experience I am fucking in. And so I am only limited to what is happening. Me, as the person who's creating the environment, I am only limited to what's already here. Right? And so we normalize it. So it's our collective truth. Meaning like we normalize money being the energy exchange. Therefore, it is our collective truth. Right? And so if you use me as a portal to your knowing, this is what Amara is saying. This is my higher self. So if you use me as a portal to your knowing, which means that you seek what I carry, you seek what I carry, my depth. You're asking me for my depth, which is where my worth comes from, my depth, right? I'm going to need that reciprocity. And that's on abundance. That's what she said. I'm going to need that reciprocity and that's on abundance, right? My worth lives in my depth, my wisdom, my knowing. You don't get access to my work for free unless I decide that. And I said after that, period. Okay? And she said, that's like you asking to use my notes to study for a test and refusing to give them back. You want it to be one-sided. No. And that's the problem with us. We think worth is in something tangible. No, the fuck is not. They want you to believe it's tangible because if they can get you to believe that your worth is in something tangible, they can control you because they can take it away at any motherfucking second. It's like having a parent who's like, I'm going to pay for your college, right? But you got to do things my way. And then they cut you off and then you go get a scholarship and that parent get mad and be like, but you defied me. It doesn't mean you did anything good. Anybody can fill out a contract. Anybody can do that. And they start trying to belittle you because it was a control mechanism. Because it was a way to control you. And so they get mad when you find another way outside of them. You know? And so you're trying to control me with something. And when I find another way, you're mad. You're mad. But anyways. So then they went on to say that I am the steward of my truth. I am the steward of my truth. My truth comes from me. I'm the one who is the guardian of it. I'm the steward of it. My mom, word for word. Child. So I'm the steward of my truth. You don't get to use my knowing without paying reverence. And that's making an offering. Because you don't go to spirits and deities without making an offering. I am the embodiment of the divine feminine energy in this reality. I am the goddess energy embodied in this reality. You think you just come and take my motherfucking insight without paying reverence to me, without honoring me? Hell fucking no. That's what Amara said. She said, hell fucking no. You know? She was mad about that. I'm not gonna lie. And I made a video about this probably like a couple months ago. And I was kind of like upset in the video. Not upset, but it was just like, the fuck? You know? That was Amara speaking. She's like, you don't get to use my knowing without paying reverence and making an offering. That's what she said. And making an offering. I just birthed a new reality for you. Do you channel when you smoke? Hell fucking yeah. That's probably when I channel the most. But you got to set your intention. You can't just be smoking for the hell of fuck. Like, you need to set the intention that the only thing, you got to talk to the herb. Like, I have a relationship with herbs and roots. Like, them and some of them motherfuckers going to come behind me. And I fuck with them for that. Right? And so, Oh, I only smoke to channel. Yeah, that's what they've been trying to get me to do. That's probably why they meant you're probably being influenced right now by my team, because they've been trying to get me to only smoke when I channel. But baby, I've been smoking since I was 16. I don't know. I don't know what you want me to say. Like, I like actually smoke. I actually like smoking, and I like smoking blunts. I'm not one of those cutesy mother. Nah, that's not me. That's not me. But I don't want no backwood, because that's aggressive. I am still a lady, you know. But no, I want a blunt. I want a blunt. Okay, I will settle for a spliff, but I would prefer a blunt. You know, and weed helped me a lot on my my journey. So I don't give a fuck. I've never turned my back on my homegirl. She was the realest bitch in my corner for the longest time. You know, my friend bought me this, y'all. I don't know if I can show this, but you know, they be blocking me for anything, so I'm gonna still show y'all. This is what it looked like. I'm gonna flip to the back side of it. And so you just put your hand, you just hold it like this, and then the hole is, wait, sorry, you hold it like this, and the hole is right here. Oh! I said, girl, you love me so much. I've never been so loved in my life. Isn't it so cute? And I love green, y'all. Like, green is my favorite color. And so, like, girl, like, at this point, you just love me so much. I do use hemp wraps. Yeah, I use these. I use them. I got 2 packs open right now. But anyways, so she said, I just birthed a new reality for you. Ooh, my team made me quit. Yeah, sometimes you gotta take a break. Like, I had to take a 9-month break last year, and it was really good for me. But the moment I smoked again, I was like, oh, I missed you so much, girl. I missed you. So I don't know if I'm ever gonna stop smoking. And a study just came out that said that smoking don't affect your lungs like cigarettes. Bitch, that was all you had to tell me. That was all you had to tell me. Actually, I'm about to order some right now, you know, just to celebrate with y'all about this new revelation. But I think it's really ingrained in my genetics too, though, because my mama's been a smoker my whole life. My papa, like, even when my papa passed at like 86. When my papa refused to eat, anytime I would get me a quad, I would get him a quad. And I would just come to the house and be like, here you go, Papa. He'd be like, this is good shit. I know, nigga. I know. And I didn't even have to pay that much for it because I'm friends with the dope man. I've always, my whole life, been friends with the dope man. And so I really don't, you know, just finessing my way through life. Yeah, it runs deep. And I love that. You know, my grandma used to smoke, but now she got emphysema. You know, but she also smoked cigarettes. And so I feel like it was the cigarettes. It wasn't the, like, because they used to chain smoke cigarettes back in the day. My mama still chain smoke cigarettes. Gross. I could never. But let me not judge, because, you know, you get it how you live. But yeah, I don't have no gripes against shrooms. I don't have no gripes against weed. Will I go past that? Hell fucking no. Them is my only two. Okay, I still am a fixed sign, which means that we don't just jump off into the deep end on some shit. Shrooms is pretty deep for me. That's about as deep as I need to be, you know? But anyways, okay, so she said, I just birthed a new reality for you, and that's worth nothing to you? Hell no. That's what she said. Because you don't realize that when somebody gives you a new truth, they are birthing a new reality for you, because if it was not for that truth, you would not have the new perspective that you have. And so when you change your belief systems, you open up new timelines, which means new realities are now available to you, right? That's worth nothing to you? Hell no. That's what she said. Then she said, women, we have to know our worth because we are source embodied. Women, we have to know our worth because we are source embodied. Source is what? Truth. We are truth embodied. The truth lives inside of us. And that's why they're so terrified of us, because the fight is between those who remember and those who have forgotten, or those who are choosing to forget. Because they're choosing to forget. They're choosing to live in conceptual knowing. They're choosing to spiritual bypass. Because you got to realize the people who came over here to the United States, the people who tried to colonize us, are the people who lost. Their truth was not being honored over there. And so they came over here in fucking fear, and they built a whole reality out of their own fear. And they tried to use science instead of religion, right? That's why there's a lot of science shit that comes from the U.S. That's why the Nobel Peace Prize, right? They tried to use science as a way to escape religion. But science is not built in truth, because they only is built off of concepts, because science is built out of fear. If you're moving in fear, you're not moving in trust. The only way for you to for the truth to arise is if you open up space for it to arise. But it can't, if you're moving in survival mode, it cannot arise, because there's too many thoughts going. And so they're trying to think their way into knowing. They keep creating these technologies and these tools to help them to spiritual bypass instead of doing the fucking work. They created a whole environment that requires them not to have to grow. That's what the patriarchy is. They do not want to grow. And so they need everybody else to change so that they don't have to change. And that's why they need everybody to move out their motherfucking way. That's why they created a system that protects them from their own fucking impact. The laws, the doctrines, the all of that shit. It's to protect men from their own fucking impact, because they do not want to evolve. They do not want to grow. And then they have to pacify everybody else, which I'm going to say is, hold on. Pacify everybody else. You know, they have to give black men male privilege, but then they still never let them into the club, but they want them to think that they can have a possibility of being in the club. That's why they having them white parties with Mark Rubin and shit. Yeah, they want you to think that it's a possibility. Because if they can sell you the potential of something, they've won. Because they live in potentials. They're spiritual bypassing. They're living in the potential. They're living in possibilities, but possibilities are not truth. Yes, collect. Yep, the scientists who actually get to the truth end up unalived. You know? And so that's how you know it's not about truth. It was never about truth. It was about them controlling the truth. Them creating the illusion that they know when they don't fucking know. You know? So, women have to know our worth because we are source embodied. Divinity embodied. Triplicity embodied. They look through one lens. Men only look through the forward lens. We have 3 lenses that we look through, which means we see the bigger picture. We are always intrinsically connected to the infinite, which is the spiritual world, right? And so if anything wants to be birthed into this reality, it has to come through the feminine portal. First, because we are the midwives and the guardians of this experience. We are the midwives and the guardians of this experience. And that's why women end up in healthcare. That's why women end up in healing spaces, right? It's because we're the midwives, but we're also the guardians. And that's why a lot of times when you look at the civil rights movement, it was not men who were standing on the fucking front lines. It was the woman who had her machete to that police's motherfucking neck about her child. It was not the men. Why? Because we are the guardians of what we create, and everything that exists here came through us. The only thing that exists on earth is us and our children. That's it. And our women are intrinsically connected. And that's why women care a lot about community, because we're intrinsically connected. Community is the baseline of who we are, because the community we live in is usually the community of our children, who we are supposed to be guardians of, who we're supposed to be midwifing, who we're supposed to be helping, right? And so community, we care about community. I seen somebody who made a TikTok the other day who said, men make alliances and women create community. Men make alliances and women create community. Your platform is not big enough. Oh, thank you. Let's manifest it that it gets bigger. Period. I think I only have like 300,000 followers or something. But I also feel like that they restrict a lot of the things that I post about, because again, they don't want y'all to know the truth, and they control media and social media too. You know. So I did create my own app or whatever for my soul school, but I'm just waiting for Android to me be able to create the Android part so that I can get everybody on the app. Period. I hope I do. Because some of these big creators are about to fall, and y'all about to see exactly who the fuck they are and the chaos they've been fucking creating. Because a lot of them are spiritual bypassing, using spirituality and spiritual language to bypass. But a lot of them live in fear. They live in comparison. They live in envy of other people. They got nasty ass motherfucking energy. They trying to send work at people. But it's okay. Those of us who are actually supposed to lead y'all, we are rising right now. We are rising, you know? So anyway, if anything wants to be birthed in this reality, it has to come through the feminine portal, because we are the midwives and the guardians of this experience. We guard the gates to the infinite, to the beyond, to mystery, which is death, which means that women are intrinsically connected to death. We actually used to be death doulas we could in ancient Egypt, because ancient Egypt, they were studying death. They were studying afterlife. And that's why ancient Egypt had a lot of like feminine deities that they paid reverence to. Like Isis was considered like the mother or whatever. And they had a lot of like woman temples and stuff like that. And so we used to be able to astral project and walk people into death and then come back. Like women can do that. Well, men could probably do that too, because men also have access to goddess energy. It's just easier for us. But yeah, we used to be able to just walk them across the threshold, like walk them into death, walk them to their angels, their people, they whatever, on the other side, and then come back. We were death doulas. That's what a death doula is. And a lot of us are also shadow walkers. Like we came here to transmute the shadows because somebody has to do the work. And so black melanated people who are oppressed oftentimes, and also women, are handling the energy that Earth can't process. That's usually a little bit more painful. We are handling that because she still needs to alchemize energy. And so a lot of times we think that the experiences that we went through are punishment, when really it's Earth had called you here to alchemize her energy and to help her, and you said yes. You know, and so you've always had the capacity to alchemize that, but you got to stop living in the story and the experiences, and understand that the stories and the experiences are only informing the feeling. They're trying to help you to understand the feeling. So you cannot get stuck in the stories and the experiences. You need to be able to see the beauty in life. If you cannot see the beauty in life, which is the lesson that the experience is showing you, you are going to be stuck in the illusion, in the circus place with all the mirrors. Can't find your way out. Okay. So anyways, we guard the gate to the infinite. If they want to know anything, what they used to do is they used to come to us. And so they would get an idea, they would bring it to us, or they would learn some information, they would bring it to us, we would sit with it, we would tell them exactly how we would articulate it, we would give them our truth of the situation, we would give it back to them, and then they would go and create, and they would build, because they are builders, and we are portals. Okay, they are builders and we are portals. We are bridges. We are in the seen and unseen realm at the same time, right? And so we are in the seen and unseen realm at the same time, right? And so I'll call you back, girl. Hold on, let me text her and tell her I'm about to call her back though, because I don't like hanging up on my mama. I love my mama. Hold on. Let me tell my girl I'm on live. She probably about to talk some shit. Hold on, y'all. Let me tell her. I didn't want to put it in our group chat, but oh yeah, this is her. All right. Anyways, wait. They mentioned the Book of Enoch or something like that in court about MK Ultra. Oh yeah, I could see that. I agree. Jen is been very lucid, and she just stares into me. Who the fuck is Jen? Question, how do we get out of these loops? I see them in my head and I end up back distracting myself. You have to do something different. You literally have to make another choice. You have to interrupt the identity. So when you start the loop, you need to stop yourself and say, hey, I don't need to figure this out right now. It is okay that I don't know the answer to this. Oh, she's still in surgery. She's still in surgery. Oh, I was trying to distract myself. Anyways, let me go back up. Like the Oracle of Delphi, she built everything for the men that came for her. Yeah. Oh, someone on the live. Oh, hey, Jen. I'm sorry, girl. I thought she was talking about a spiritual content creator. That's why I'm like, who the fuck is Jen? And why would she be staring in your phone? That's a little scary. My bad, girl. But anyways, so they said, we have been living as the dead instead of living beside them. We have been the living dead instead of living beside them. It's kind of like the scene in movies where you are in transit to the underworld, you know, and they on that boat, and then there's souls in the water that's like unrest, souls that are in unrest, and the Grim Reaper is just kind of like helping you pass over the water. If you go too deep into the darkness without integration, you ain't gonna be able to get them spirits up off of you. Yeah, like the originals are like the Odyssey. If y'all watch the Odyssey in school, any Dante's Inferno, fucking What Dreams May Come, like all of those movies have like a scene where there's a Grim Reaper taking you across the water, and it's like souls that are in a place of unrest. And so what they was basically saying is, if you go too deep into the infinite without integrating what you are learning, you're not gonna be able to get them spirits up off of you. So on a collective level, we are experiencing change through expression with Uranus and Gemini. Okay, so on a collective level, we are experiencing change through expression with Uranus and Gemini. So over these next 7 years until 2033, we are meant to use Gemini to externally express our truths, right? I think that's the disclosure they're talking about. Disclosure is here, it's Uranus and Gemini. So many more of us are going to be externally expressing our truth. And I already see it happening. There's so many people who are speaking up about the stuff that I feel like I've been speaking up over the last 5 years. It's so many people now who are just saying the thing. And I'm so grateful for that. Because I think that the more that we all share our truth, the more we can get to the fucking truth. But we're not even talking about it. We've been silent about it because school tells us this is the truth and tells us don't talk outside of that framework or they're going to censor you or you know, whatever thing is here. The fight is with indecision. The fight is with indecision because that's what it looks like when you are bypassing. Okay? The fight is with indecision because that's what it looks like when you are bypassing. A lot of people stay in a state of confusion because they don't want to make a decision. And if you don't make a decision, you're choosing to stand in place. Because it's through the decision that a new timeline either opens or you close old timelines. And so if you're in a place of indecision, it's because you are not choosing. You're not acting as the authority in your life. You're waiting for somebody else to tell you something or something to happen before you make a decision. You're waiting for a revelation or something profound to tell you what direction to go when you are the one who's driving the car. And so it's like you're sitting in the middle of the road and you're waiting for something to happen for you to decide which road you're going to take. Right? And so indecision is what it looks like when you're bypassing. Make a decision and trust in your resilience. That's what they said. Make a decision and trust in your resilience. Trust in your ability to handle that. Whatever's on the other side of that decision. There is no wrong decision. But you don't know the potential that you're working with until you make a decision. And so too many times we try to figure it out before we even make the decision because we're trying to workshop and strategize the outcomes. You don't know what the fucking outcome is because you don't know what the potential energy you're working with until you make a decision. Right? And so they said we need to create ways to express our truth. We need to learn to feel safe communicating and speaking our truth without trying to manage or regulate people's emotions before you figure out what you want to say. Because a lot of people are trying to figure out how to say it in a perfect way. And so they're trying to figure that out before they can even figure out what their truth is. Ooh, hold on. My cat might be ready. I want my baby right now. Hold on. 1 second. We will be ready for pickup at 12:15, no later than 12:30. Please confirm you received this text. We will be ready for pickup at 12:15, no later than 12:30. I luckily need to leave in like 10 minutes then. Because this is across the motherfucking town. Let me finish this real quick and then I gotta hop off live because I gotta go get my baby because those people that had my baby since 7 o'clock this morning and my baby is sad. I just know she's sad. Oh my God. Anyways, back to what I was saying. I feel so bad for doing that. I feel so bad for doing that. But I also know like that it was right for her. And I got a signal this morning that I was doing the right thing. But she gonna be pissed off at me. She probably gonna try to kill me in my sleep. I don't know. She's kind of scary. Some days I wake up and she's just staring at me. I'm just like, oh, please stop that. But anyways, all right. So, yeah. And so the masculine's only job, aka the mind, is to protect the truth. Okay? It's to figure out when to speak it and when not to speak it based on who you're talking to. Not whether or not you think somebody's going to receive your truth. Whether or not somebody is ready to be transformed. Those words just did not want to come out. Oh, good. Well, welcome, my love. Right, when I choose distraction, how do you change it? Like, do you just read or something? No, because that's also distracting yourself. Is you have to sit in the emotion and figure out what it's trying to tell you. And you don't try to transcend it. You just sit with it. So you keep moving through your day, feeling how you feel. That's how you stop distracting yourself. You know? Like you literally have to sit in the emotion and just keep feeling it and know that it's enough space for you to feel that and also feel other things too. Because we think that we only can hold one emotion at one time. That's not true. You can hold grief and joy. You know, like it's like when somebody dies, right? My papa passed and my papa was 86. And so it's like, yes, I was grieving, but I also was happy that he wasn't in pain. Too many times we're just trying to feel one thing at a time. And it's usually the negative emotion. We cling to that because we don't know who we are without that sadness, without that grief, without that whatever, you know? But no, you can feel multiple things at one time. You can still have a good time. Like it was a point in time where I was grieving and I was just like, I feel like I shouldn't be happy because my cousin just died. No, you can be both things. We're trying to choose between you don't have to choose. Just be who you are and be where you are and let that be okay. If you don't feel good, that's okay. Rest as much as you possibly can. If you do feel good, be around people. You know, make sure you're in a safe environment for you to feel. You know, and so the masculine's only job, aka the mind, is to protect the truth, not defend or prove the truth, but to protect the truth. Figuring out who should actually get the truth from you. Make sure the truth has a safe environment to exist in. That's the only job of the masculine, to make sure that the truth has a safe environment to exist in. Okay? And is valued. It has to be valued as well. Because if somebody, because you know how you get around people and all of a sudden, it's like when you first got around them, they understood the value of your presence. They loved you, they whatever. But then, I am an earth sign. I'm heavy earth. All of a sudden they start talking shit about you or like little digs and stuff like that. And so you separate yourself because it's like, oh, you don't see the value in my presence no more. Like, you know when somebody values your truth because they're open, they're honest, they're asking questions. My birthday is May 16th. Happy birthday, boom, belated birthday. So somebody is rejecting you every time you share your ideas. They're telling you, oh, like that's not practical. Those are not safe environments. Right? You need to be in environments where people empower you instead of disempower you. If you feel disempowered, meaning rejected, unseen, unheard, unloved, you need to get out of those environments, right? Because our only job is to make sure that we're in a safe environment so that the truth can exist. Our truth can exist. Meaning we got to be able to live fully and visibly without feeling like we have to be less than what we are, right? And so if the environment is not safe or if the truth is not valued, get in a different environment around different people. Move before you start forgetting. Because if you stay in an environment too long that is rejecting the truth, you will start forgetting the truth. Forgetting is when you stay in a lie too long. Forgetting is when you stay in a lie too long. And our society is trying to push us into lies. And so, white people, no offense, but if you take offense, white people refuse to feel shame and guilt and own their impact. White people refuse to feel shame and they refuse to feel guilt and own the impact of the people that came before them. Okay? They all have an integrity issue. And I'm not talking about people who happen to be white. I'm talking about white people. Okay? People who happen to be white understand nuance and situation. They understand why black people feel the way that they do. People who are just white people refuse to understand because they don't want to feel the shame. They don't want to feel the guilt. They do not want to feel the feeling that comes along with the thing, which means they're living above it instead of actually living in the human experience. And that's why they don't have compassion for black people. A lack of compassion is a lack of humility. Okay? Compassion is what makes you human. If you do not have compassion, it's because you have not lived the feeling, or you're living above the feeling. Right? And so they have built a whole reality around being outcasted and being unseen, abandoning their truth and refusing to do the work, which projects chaos. Because if you avoid the inner work and you neglect your own potential, you are going to project chaos. Negativity is unprocessed pain. Reactivity is unintegrated shadow. And envy is just showing you where you have abandoned your gifts or your truth. Okay? So we inherit the grief of our ancestors. So some of us are born disconnected or buried in a way. You can't ever fully be disconnected from it, only buried. Your truth can only be buried or closed off to it. Grief is heavy and dense, so it causes you to drown. It acts like an anchor. It constricts your lungs because grief is stored in the lungs. And when you deal with the grief in silence, it blocks your ability to manifest because it blocks your throat chakra. Suppressed expression and whatever happens to the throat affects the top 3 chakras, which are your spiritual chakras. Okay? So I got to go get my baby and save her from these people who wanted to take her womb. So I got to go. But I will see y'all later. And I got to hop off here quickly. This will be on YouTube later on. So if y'all want to hop on YouTube later and rewatch this, you definitely can. We talked about a lot of things today. I'm just going to keep on coming on and giving y'all my channel messages and stuff. Just so that we can create a space where truth can feel safe. Or where we have a safe environment to talk about our truth and things like that. That's the whole purpose of me doing this. And so I love y'all. I will see y'all later. Probably I might be on here tomorrow. We'll see. But I'll see y'all later. And again, this will be on YouTube later. All right. Bye, y'all.